My girlfriend Amy, who's the CEO, took away all my bonuses and got a car for the least capable assistant, claiming it was his year-end bonus. That night, the assistant bragged on social media. He thanked the generous boss and praised himself for being so excellent. The picture showed them both standing in front of the new car, making a heart gesture with their hands and smiling sweetly. This time, I didn't go nuts with jealousy or angrily confront her. Instead, I calmly maxed out her card and bought every colleague a car too. We all posted a thank you note, thanking the generous boss and praising everyone's excellence. Not even 2 minutes after the post, Amy called me. "Frank, have you lost it? If Jim hadn't told me, I wouldn't even know you did something this crazy. Before I get back, make sure to return all those cars and fix this mess, or deal with the consequences yourself," she yelled before hanging up. Just before the call ended, I heard Jim's whiny voice. "Sorry, Amy, I didn't mean to make things hard for you," she replied in a calming tone, completely different from before. "Why are you apologizing? He's the one at fault, not you." I realized she was saying this for my benefit, thinking I'd just clean up the mess quietly like always. But this time, I've lost all patience and don't plan to help her anymore. A colleague worriedly asked, "Frank, does Amy not know about this? We should return the cars or she'll pin this on you later." Others chimed in, seeming light-hearted but clearly disappointed. When I arranged the cars, I only said it was a year-end reward, not mentioning anything else. So everyone assumed it was Amy's doing, even praising her for being full of surprises. Now surprise turns to shock. One co-worker, worried about me getting in trouble, rushed to cancel the order. I snapped back to reality, stopped him, and assured everyone I'd take care of it. Then I went home and got some sleep. By the time I woke up, it was the early hours of the morning. I heard a noise at the door and Amy walked into the living room looking grim. She saw me and slammed her bag on the table, making a loud noise. I knew she was trying to intimidate me into admitting my mistake and making it up to her. Usually I'd comply. But now, I just glanced at her, yawned, and said, "You're back." Seeing my reaction, Amy got angrier. "You have the nerve to sleep? I told you to get those cars back. And you still haven't? Frank, you're pushing it. I'm giving you a chance to fix this and you don't care." I used to fear this side of her, not so much because of her anger but more because I worried about her health. After her outburst, I'd usually rush to comfort her, admit I was wrong, and try to fix things. But now my voice was calm. Why fix it? I didn't do anything wrong. Amy, hearing me talk back for the first time, seemed taken aback. "What did you say?" I chuckled. "If even the least effective employee gets a year-end bonus, why shouldn't everyone else who works hard and gets results for the company?" Amy turned red with anger. "Jim isn't top tier yet, but he's new and already doing pretty well. I believe by next year he'll be number 1. Besides, haven't you counted how many mistakes they've made this year? I didn't even dock their pay. Why should they expect bonuses?" Amy went on and on about others' faults, and I found it hilarious. She kept mentioning the same minor mistakes, like forgetting to water plants or submitting an extra receipt. These weren't part of their main tasks, and they always corrected things promptly. Everyone has been understanding of Amy's startup struggles, working overtime and doing whatever they could for 4 years without complaints. Now that the company is successful, Amy hasn't shown appreciation. Instead, she's piled more work on them. Jim joined last year, and though he makes fewer mistakes, it's only because he does nothing, relying on Amy's favoritism. His mistakes, however, are always critical, like sending hundreds of messages to partners at midnight or mixing up product prices on contracts, costing the company $8 million. Jim claimed it was my fault for distracting him with extra tasks, which was ridiculous, and everyone thought so too. But Amy believed him and took away my whole year's bonus. She thought I was self-reflecting when I didn't speak. Her tone softened. After that call, Jim wanted to return the car, saying it's tough for me with the startup. Can't you learn from him? Despite being a regular employee who just joined last year, he's considerate. But you? I cut her off. Sure, let him return it and I'll ask everyone else to return theirs too. Amy was speechless. I knew she wouldn't ask Jim to do that. This isn't the first time something like this has happened. Amy, who's otherwise thrifty, Always fought for Jim's needs regardless of pressure. Besides, Jim's offer was probably only lip service. She might know this deep down but will always protect him unconditionally. I guess Amy didn't expect me to push back this hard. Annoyed, she tapped my forehead and snapped, "Why are you being so childish? Frank, this is my last warning. Get everything you sent out back by tomorrow or don't bother continuing at this company. Just resign yourself. Even if you're my boyfriend, I can't have someone who doesn't follow my orders around here." She looked at me with this smug expression, confident I'd never leave the company. But this time, I didn't compromise. I didn't go against my conscience to appease her. Instead, I handed her the document I'd already prepared. I was thinking the same thing. Here's my resignation letter. Just sign it. Amy was taken aback, not expecting I would actually resign. I had turned down a high-paying job to start this company with her, even investing half my savings without asking for any shares. To get us projects, I drank with clients till the crack of dawn, being treated like a clown. To perfect our projects, I survived on 3 or 4 hours of sleep a night, pushing myself to the point of almost passing out a few times. Now the company's grown and no one would leave in their right mind. Amy finally caught up, giving a bitter laugh. "Think this through. You're leaving without any compensation. Even as my boyfriend, you're no exception." "I know," I said, "but I'm taking them with me." I handed her a stack of resignation letters from my colleagues. These were the folks who had their year-end bonuses docked. They'd been fed up for a while, tired of Amy's exploitation and Jim being favored. They had been discreetly submitting their resignations to me, which I kept on hold. I tried every way to reason with them not to overthink. Amy wasn't always like this. Maybe she's just giving Jim some time to adjust, I told them. They didn't quite buy it but stayed out of respect for me. But this last incident, it broke us. Amy's face darkened. A bunch of ungrateful backstabbers. I took care of them for 4 years, and they're not the least bit thankful. Fine, I can't be bothered with you all. Ruthlessly, she tore up the resignation letters and tossed them in the trash. Let's forget about this whole thing. I'm letting it go, all right? She acted all magnanimous, but I knew. It wasn't that she didn't want to make it a big deal, she couldn't. Despite her disdain and bias toward Jim, she was well aware that the majority of the company's business rested in our hands. If I left with them, the company would fall apart. Probably fearing I'd press further, Amy eased up. "Fine, this ends here. Had I known you were this stubborn, I wouldn't have put in place a year-end bonus. These cars add up to over 5 million. Remember that. It's your money too." Another setback on our path to getting married. "Pains me." Amy sighed, but all I could do was chuckle. She often joked about that. She had set up an account and was putting money in it each month, telling me once it reached 1 million, we'd get married. Trusting her, I also began sneaking funds into the account. Until last month, I stumbled upon the truth. The account, which should have had 900,000, was down to 500,000. Reviewing the statements, I discovered she'd spent the money on dates with Jim, buying gifts. Sneakers worth a couple thousand, gifted over 20 times in a few months. Underwear priced at 2,000, sent 18 at once. Lavish seafood dinners going for 8,000 a pop for a table. A level of extravagance I couldn't begin to fathom. Yet when I wanted a new shirt costing $100, she'd scold me for overspending, questioning if I was serious about marriage. It's laughable. I'd always end up feeling guilty, reflecting on myself, not realizing the one who wasn't considering marriage was her all along. Just when I was about to say something, her phone rang. Amy ignored me, heading to the balcony to take the call. When she returned, she was humming, looking in high spirits. When she saw me, it was like she remembered herself. The smile dropped, and she said awkwardly, "A partner wants to meet. I have to go. Take some time to think at home." Not wanting to out her, I watched as she picked an outfit from the closet, chose a different bag, and left. I checked the bank statements again. Just now, another 100,000 was gone. The recipient was the bar she frequented with Jim. After a few minutes in silence, I picked up my phone and called the cops. When I arrived at the bar with the police, Amy and Jim had just finished a toast. In the midst of the deafening music and chatter, they were clearly enjoying themselves. "Amy, I can't believe even after Frank's antics, you're still sticking with him, Jim complained, indignant. Your patience is admirable. You built this company and own so much, you're a modern independent woman, yet you humor others. Anyone else would have switched boyfriends by now and wouldn't put up with this. Amy sighed and shrugged. I can't help it. He had a hand in starting the company back then. Breaking up now, everyone would think I'm ungrateful. I guess it's my bad judgment of character. Who knew he'd turn out this way? When the time's right, I'll deal with him. Hearing her words, I couldn't help but find the situation a little funny. When we first started, I asked Amy why she chose this route. I was working at a multinational firm as a supervisor with a solid salary, enough to support us. Entrepreneurship, on the other hand, came with uncertainties and could be tough. Back then, looking me straight in the eye, Amy earnestly said she didn't want me facing hardships on my own. She wanted to stand by my side, taking the journey together. I'd stepped out of my comfort zone to help her reach where she was now. She finally left, but not just leaving. She didn't want to walk alongside me, and she figured she could just kick me to the curb without a second thought. But you know what? I didn't feel sad. Her words just proved what I'd suspected for a while. The cop gave me a sympathetic glance. To avoid any chaos, I got the boss to help bring them out. After explaining things to Amy, she looked at me, her face full of disbelief. Frank, what are you doing now? Reporting to the police over a little money. Is it worth it? Jim clutched his chest, coughing hard. Amy rushed to help him catch his breath, her eyes full of worry and concern. Then she glared at me. Don't you know Jim isn't well and can't handle stress? If something happens to him, how will you take responsibility? I recalled how, back in the coldest part of winter when we were struggling, I had a fever of 104 degrees, and she didn't seem this concerned. Instead, she told me to tough it out to build resistance. That episode left me with some health issues, struggling with breathing every winter, but she never seemed to care. Couldn't help but scoff. You're laughing? Frank, you're just heartless. Amy shot me a cold look. If you're making a big deal out of a little money, then maybe you're not fit to be my boyfriend. Let's break up. Fine, let's break up. I nodded. Amy looked at me, eyes wide in disbelief. She hadn't expected I'd agree. Usually, whenever she mentioned breaking up, it was just a tactic to get what she wanted, a way to threaten me. We both knew it, and I'd always find a way to appease her, even apologizing when I wasn't in the wrong. This was the first time I actually agreed to break up. Amy's lips moved like she wanted to say something. Jim quickly chimed in. Frank, I know you're jealous, but Amy just said that because she's mad. She didn't really mean it, so don't take it seriously. He seemed to be defending me, but I could see the hint of satisfaction in his eyes. Sure enough, Amy snorted, Jim, don't bother explaining for him. If it's over, it's over. I just hope he doesn't regret it later. With that, she grabbed Jim's hand and started to leave. I raised a hand to stop them. Since we're breaking up, shouldn't you pay back the money too? I nodded toward the police officer. When I called the cops, I provided all the evidence showing how Amy used my money without permission. The cop nodded and advised Amy to pay back the money if my claims were true, warning her against letting it escalate to a court case. Amy hadn't responded yet, but Jim quickly spoke up. Frank used Amy's card to buy over a dozen cars, and she didn't call the cops on him. Go ahead and press charges if you want to, I said. We've broken up. If you want to sort things, we can tally up everything between us. I met Amy's eyes, confident that she didn't dare press charges because the financial exchanges between us over the years favored me more than just the $400,000. Jim wanted to say more but stayed silent when he saw Amy's pale face. Amy bit her lip, glaring at me, then tapped away on her phone. It's transferred. Happy now? She snapped, casting me a look of disdain, before snatching Jim's hand and storming off. I thanked the officer and went back to fill out the paperwork before heading home. As I walked through the door, I got a call from someone in the finance department. Frank, Amy just withdrew another $400,000 from company funds. We're coming up on the reconciliation period. Are you covering it again this quarter? Amy often dipped into company funds. At first, she'd pay it back. Then she forgot and made finance wait. By the time financial reconciliations came around, she'd stall to the point where finance would come to me worried. I'd always cover the shortfall with my own savings. I'd brought it up with her, and she said it was because she trusted me. But just last month, I discovered that a huge chunk of her expenses went toward Jim. She didn't trust me. She thought I was a sucker. No more covering for her. File the report as it is, I said calmly. And in the future, don't bring such matters to me. We've broken up. Hearing this, the finance guy actually seemed relieved. You finally saw it. I was planning to talk to you next time. Every time you filled in the gap, it took a quarter of the company's income. In truth, the company feels more yours than hers. You've always managed things well, even sorting out her tax evasions. Without you, she wouldn't have made it this far. I hung up and sat there for a moment, thinking. I used to believe in this idea of one flesh with Amy, always assuming we'd get married eventually, thinking that her problems were mine to solve. Funny now, looking back, how silly I'd been. Even outsiders could see all I gave. But Amy just saw me as someone to get rid of. I realized she wouldn't let this go easily. And sure enough, in the days following, Amy and Jim got bolder. They weren't hiding anymore and held hands openly, intertwined fingers and all. Amy used to find excuses, but now blatantly passed off my projects as Jim's achievements. One day, right as I walked into the office, Jim shoved a mop into my hand. Sorry, Frank. Amy said the company's tight on funds after paying year-end bonuses, so there's no budget for cleaners. She thought management should set an example. Plus, Frank, you've done this before, right? So you're up first. He grinned at me, his eyes taunting. I knew he was doing it on purpose. This had happened before. Jim messed up a contract, and when I called him out, Amy made me clean toilets for a week, citing my unstable emotions. You've gone too far. A colleague finally spoke up for me. Well, then why don't you clean in Frank's place? Jim sneered, throwing a sideways glance at them. What are you sweeping for? He grabbed the mop and threw it right back in his face. Frank, I really don't get why we're still here working. So many companies have tried to poach us, and we stayed loyal to this company, to her. And look what we get for it. She's clearly pushing us out. Hearing this, the other colleagues also joined in to agree. But soon, Amy walked in with a scowl on her face. Jim, seeing her, was like a drowning man spotting a lifeboat. He quickly exaggerated everything that just happened. So you all want to leave? Then get out. Amy scoffed. One colleague couldn't help but stand up for me, and Amy shot back without hesitation. You were all bought by Frank. Speaking up for him. The colleague was left speechless. I found it amusing too. In the days that followed, whenever anyone tried to defend me, she'd use that bribery excuse to shut them up. Given that, there was no point in staying any longer. I packed up my stuff to leave. Seeing this, my colleagues started packing up too. Amy froze for a moment, her face turning angry. But as she was about to say something, Jim whispered something to her, and her expression softened. Whoever wants to leave, go ahead. I won't stop you. But for those who choose to stay, there's a $5,000 monthly salary increase, and you'll get shares when the company goes public. Hearing that, a few paused in their actions to look at her. I knew they were shocked. Amy still didn't realize the company could no longer go public. Recently, the finance team repeatedly tried to inform her about the financial issues, but she ignored them. So, they just reported everything truthfully before the deadline hit. We were planning to tell her when the chance came, but unexpectedly, just last night, our rival had already taken her to court. Amy clearly hadn't realized this, thinking everyone wanted to stay, and she couldn't help but feel a little smug. I'm satisfied with your decision, Amy continued. Tonight, the investors are coming to check things out. As long as everyone performs well, I assure you, you won't be disappointed. This year's bonus is a car. If you do well, next year's is a house. Then she glanced at me smugly, walked over, and whispered, See, Frank, even if you help them get a car, it doesn't matter. They only care about their interests. As long as I offer enough, they'll stay right here. I opened my mouth, ready to say something, but at that moment, the receptionist came rushing in, saying, Amy, someone's here. Before she could finish, Jim chimed in loudly on purpose. Is it our potential partner? Didn't they say evening? They're here early because they see great potential in us. Amy snapped to attention, giving me a mocking smile. Just you wait. You'll regret this soon enough. Right as those words left her mouth, there was a commotion at the door. Amy quickly strode over, but after only a couple of steps, she stopped dead in her tracks when she saw who entered. 2 police officers walked in. After showing their badges, one spoke sternly. Amy, you've been reported for embezzlement, and the company has major tax issues. Please come with us for investigation. Everyone's attention fixed on Amy, and hardly anyone noticed Jim's eyes flash briefly with panic. Though he quickly looked normal again, I caught it clearly. Amy hadn't focused on him, so she didn't notice, and upon hearing the officer, she frowned, naturally looking at me. Frank, you didn't handle the taxes and company funds? Her first reaction of scolding me made me chuckle. That's not my job. But you always handled it. Either do it well or don't do it at all, she retorted arrogantly, which I found amusing. She often said things like that in the past. I didn't want her to be too stressed, so I took on everything seriously, even though I knew she couldn't meet her own expectations. Seeing I didn't explain as before, her frown deepened. After a moment, she lowered her voice. Besides, you're my boyfriend. Even if we're arguing, you can't just ignore such big company issues out of spite. I never wanted to truly break up or fire you. Can you stop being mad? She spoke earnestly, but I knew her sincerity didn't run deep. Breaking up and firing me were genuinely her ideas. She just needed my help with handling the current mess quickly. Like before, she might treat me nicely for a few days and then favor Jim again as usual. Trusting her would only make me look foolish. Seeing me silent, Amy angrily glanced at me and looked at the others, finally fixing on the finance person. You handle this. It is your job. The finance person handed in a resignation letter, apologizing, sorry, Amy, but I'm actually here to quit today. I'm young, but the way you operate makes me feel like I could end up in jail anytime. Better find someone more competent for this. With those words, the others quickly followed suit, handing in their resignations. Amy's face turned a dark shade of green. You ungrateful bunch. I've provided for you for years, yet not a drop of gratitude. Can't even rely on you at critical times. Jim moved closer, comforting her by holding her. Amy, don't worry. Even if they all leave, I'll stay by your side. Colleagues exchanged looks, feeling speechless. Yet his words truly eased Amy's expression. She let out a cold laugh, looking at us with disdain. Ungrateful lot, worse than a newbie. Nobody spoke, knowing it was pointless. In time, she'd see Jim's true colors. Seeing everyone still packing up, Amy snatched a laptop, saying it's just a simple task, then logged in to fix the previously withdrawn company funds. But when she clicked in, seeing the amount, her eyes widened in shock. 1 million in debt? How could it be that much? She screamed, angrily demanding, Finance? Get over here and explain this. The finance guy was caught off guard, but then he chuckled, staying calm. It's all in the spending report. You can check it yourself. I couldn't have borrowed that much money. Did you misuse your position and embezzle or something? Amy didn't even let her explain, angrily turning to the cop nearby, saying, I want to press charges. There's definitely been embezzlement. The cops exchanged a look and quickly stepped in to help Amy investigate. Meanwhile, Jim tried to calm her down, saying, just let it go, Amy. The company can earn that money back soon. Surprisingly, Amy didn't listen to him for once. She retorted at him, if it's that easy to earn back, then consider this debt yours. Would you agree to that? Jim stiffened up, at a loss for words. From Jim's reaction and his panicked expression earlier, I could already tell how this extra debt came about. Most likely, like before, he took it in Amy's name. Finance had mentioned it before, but Amy was always too impatient. He gets my approval for the expenses. Just transfer the money directly. Don't bother me every time. Over time, when Jim made withdrawals, the finance team didn't dare say much. Now Jim got greedier, and with me not covering for him anymore, Everything he did was out in the open. The police soon found out that over $5 million of that debt was linked to Jim. Amy was in disbelief when she heard. Jim dropped to his knees and pleaded, "It's not true, Amy. They're framing me. I couldn't possibly do that. If you don't believe me, check my bank account. I still owe 10 grand. I'm wearing clothes I've had for years, and I haven't gone through with surgery yet because it's too expensive. If I really took the money, would I let myself get into this mess? Even if I'm greedy, I wouldn't risk my life, would I?" Jim frantically explained. But I noticed his wandering eyes, clearly trying to trick Amy. Yet Amy believed him, and her furious gaze softened, looking at Jim with sympathy. I knew she was wavering. This always happened. Jim played the victim, and Amy, even if she doubted him, chose to believe. The police told Amy they could investigate the matter. Amy was silent for a couple of seconds, then said to the still kneeling Jim, "Forget it. It's just $1 million. Once tonight's deal is signed, the profits will easily surpass that." She gave us a smug look. She informed the police she would transfer funds to fill the gap and pay taxes properly. But I knew she didn't have much savings over the years, and her cash flow couldn't cover it. Sure enough, Amy had to sell 2 of her properties that night to barely make up the amount. The deal still went on as planned. I saw a photo Amy posted online, a selfie with a woman wearing thick-rimmed glasses, both smiling brightly. Caption: "Looking forward to the future we create together." Oddly, the woman looked familiar, but I couldn't place her. But the whole deal left me with an odd feeling. I didn't think much of it. Me and a few colleagues started a new company with our savings, and thanks to our teamwork over the years, it quickly took off. I had so much on my plate, I hardly thought of her. But Amy did secretly try to poach some colleagues, offering tempting deals. They all turned her down flat and told us. We just laughed it off. Yet, something felt off to me. Amy's moves didn't fit her usual character. She's been bragging non-stop about new projects on social media, claiming Jim brought in a professional team. With all that, she should be drowning in work, too busy to poach people. But soon I found out why. We got a new project, but something wasn't right from the start. The requirements were strict and precise, yet the bid was ridiculously low. I contacted them, and after a couple of evasive answers, they admitted someone else handed them the project to pass on to us. Connecting the dots from before, I showed a photo of Amy and Jim to the contact person, and he nodded immediately. It was them. They promised me 10 grand if the job got done. It all seemed absurd, and I ignored it. That night, Amy barged into my office. "Frank, you probably know about the project already. Name your price. Think of me as your client." She just sat right across from me, her expression lazy. "I'm doing this because I feel bad for you, my ex, so I'm handing you this project." I didn't hesitate to call her out. This project was meant for the team I'm leading, right? Amy turned pale for a moment. Only recently did I recall overhearing that lady with glasses insisting on having our team for a project back when I happened to be outside Amy's office. Later, curiosity got the better of me, and I asked Amy about it. She was impatient, saying I was too full of myself, insisting no project depended solely on us. I forgot all that happened after, but recently seeing Amy's social media posts and noticing she hadn't announced our team's departure publicly got me thinking. I boldly guessed that idea, and it looks like I was right. Amy was caught off guard by my guess. She stayed silent for a few seconds before huffing, "Ha! I only helped you out of pity. Don't think you're irreplaceable. Jim's team is almost as good as yours, maybe even better. So give them the job and stop using these cheap tactics." As soon as she finished, I calmly responded, and Amy's face turned a shade of red and pale. Muttering something, she finally turned and left. I knew she wouldn't give up so easily, and sure enough, she tried to secretly approach others with even better offers. I almost wanted to accept, but everyone knew her ways and knew those promises would mean nothing once the project was done. So everyone declined her offer outright. Amy, worried about being exposed and unable to find anyone else in the industry, had no choice but to hand it to Jim's team. She might not see the quality difference, but anyone with experience could see it plainly. Amy and her project were bound for trouble. I didn't expect her to mess up rather spectacularly. While we were celebrating a collaboration, someone exclaimed that Amy's company had been taken to court. We quickly checked the news. After Amy submitted the project, Jim and his team slogged on for a month. The client wasn't pleased. They asked to meet the team behind the work, but Amy stalled. When it was clear they were losing patience, she admitted Jim's team completed it. She tried every excuse and emotional plea, but the client, a woman in black-rimmed glasses, was unmoved and had her legal team sue Amy for fraud. When I heard about this, I thought it was maybe serious, but after seeing the project's result, I realized the client was being gracious. It seemed like Amy hadn't hired a skilled team at all. Avoiding anything decent in the work was quite a feat. We just took it as a joke and moved on to planning our next steps. Even though we had stable clients, we lacked exposure, making further growth challenging. Thankfully, from a previous startup experience, we knew not to rush things. After some casual discussion, we wrapped up the meeting. But when I got home, there was Amy sitting on the steps, her eyes red. When she saw me, she rushed over, but I dodged, leaving her confused. "What's up?" I asked calmly. Amy took a moment to regain her composure, sniffling. "Frank, I know how important you are now. Help me out, please. Jim's people messed everything up. I've told the client if you and your team fix the project, they will drop the suit against me." Her eyes were full of regret, and in the past, I might have felt bad and helped begrudgingly. But now I knew better. She wasn't truly remorseful, just desperate. Once resolved, she would go back to her old ways. I won't let her toy with me or those who trust me. "What's in it for us?" I asked. "If we help you, what can you offer?" Seeing a chance, Amy quickly promised better pay and benefits. "That's it?" I pressed. "I'll fire Jim once you return," she added. "Anything else?" That seemed to stump her, and she said I could name my terms. "All right then," I started. She nodded eagerly. "First, you handle all small tasks yourself. Clean even the floors without help. Second, no errors allowed. Any mistake will void all rewards." Amy's face darkened. "Frank, are you joking? You're playing games." "Games?" I smiled at her. "Isn't this what we dealt with under you? We accepted it. Why shouldn't you?" Amy stood stunned, realizing I wouldn't agree. She clenched her teeth, then turned to leave. She took a call mid-stride, her eyes lighting up briefly. She looked back at me smugly. "I told you, Frank, I'm not the only option. Even without your help, it's not the end of the world." I wasn't sure what gave her such confidence, but she left, looking pleased. At work the next day, a colleague said a foreign company was seeking a long-term partner in the country. Our local reputation wasn't great, but starting abroad was an option. We quickly made a plan. The foreign rep had a tight schedule and would only be around for a day. Upon checking, we found his itinerary included an evening event. I bought 2 tickets to the event and brought our project and team there. To my surprise, I ran into Amy and Jim at the entrance. "What are you doing here?" When Amy saw me, she froze for a second. I didn't expect to see them here either, so I was a bit surprised. I heard these tickets were really hard to get when I was pulling some strings to buy them. We only got these 2 because a couple who were supposed to attend got sick and had to give up their tickets. I know all of Amy's connections. She's in a tough spot now, and everyone wants to stay clear of her. No one would risk it to help her. Thinking that, I looked over at Jim and noticed his eyes shifted a bit. Before I could think more, Amy laughed out loud. "Are you here to meet with foreign investors too?" I raised an eyebrow. "You too?" Amy didn't answer, but her laughter grew even more. "Frank, you must be dreaming. You think landing a couple of projects means you can handle foreign collaborations? Your company hasn't been around long, yet you already have such big ambitions. Be careful you don't bite off more than you can chew." Something felt off seeing her smug look, but I didn't interrupt. I let her keep talking. "Let me tell you the truth, the foreign investors are here for us. Jim met with them yesterday, and we already have the contract." As she spoke, Amy waved the document she was holding. "Don't embarrass yourself anymore. You should start planning your next steps." Then it hit me, the call Amy took last night was probably about this. The more I thought about it, the weirder it seemed. I couldn't help but glance at Jim again. Our eyes met briefly before he quickly looked away, clearly uncomfortable. Still, I kindly advised Amy, you better check that contract carefully. I don't think Jim could secure the deal with just a few empty words. Amy sneered, sizing me up. I know what you think. You think Jim's not as good as you. But I told you he's talented. Give him the space and he can surpass everyone. Jim lowered his head. Amy, stop talking to him. Let's go inside. The investors are waiting for you. You're right, Amy grinned. Stay here and wait for my good news. I followed Amy inside but turned to look at Jim again. I only saw his back disappearing quickly into the crowd. I wanted to tell Amy, but before I could get close, she pulled away. Don't think getting close will make me help you. You forget how you treated me yesterday? It's too late for regrets now. With a cold laugh, she shook me off like I was something filthy, took out her phone to make a call, and walked straight into the banquet hall. Watching her back, something didn't seem right. Just as I was about to go in after her, a business associate pulled me aside. Frank, isn't that the person we're looking for? I followed where he was pointing and saw a bearded foreign guy happily clinking glasses with others. I recognized him from the photo I'd seen before arriving. He was who we were looking for. I stopped paying attention to Amy and quickly approached the man with my associate. I thought convincing him would be tough, but surprisingly, he seemed pleased with our project. With some broken Chinese, he said, actually, I was planning to contact you all tomorrow. I came here to collaborate with you, which is why I spread the word that I'm leaving tonight. Turns out, our former client knew he wanted to expand his market. Worrying he might get deceived, they recommended our team. My end-of-year bonus of gifting cars caught his eye, making him interested in meeting me. I was blown away by the news. After chatting a bit more, I couldn't resist asking about Amy. The investor looked puzzled. Sorry, I don't know her, but I've heard she's in some trouble. I quickly learned what he meant. Just as the party was winding down, Amy came rushing out of the banquet hall with red eyes, stumbling into several people. Right then, a call from a coworker came in. They told me Amy was done for. Jim and his team weren't a real project group but a scam squad. In just a month, they emptied the company and left Amy with lawsuits and debt piles. Their plan to meet foreign investors and sign a contract was a sham, merely to keep Amy distracted for their escape. Originally, Jim was supposed to have a fake investor stall her for an hour. Amy, once inside, wanted Jim to witness her success, to see me squirm and prove he was on par with anyone. Vanity struck, and she called Jim, only to get no answer. She tried his team but couldn't reach anyone either. That's when she realized something was wrong and called the cops. She wasn't prepared for what she uncovered. I later heard. Thankfully, Amy reported it soon enough. The police caught them just in time, but the money was already gone. Amy lost everything and reached her breaking point. In despair, she bought a knife. When she saw Jim again, she stabbed him without hesitation. Jim dodged enough to avoid critical harm but still lost too much blood and ended up in a coma. After injuring him, it was like Amy snapped, losing her mind and ending up in a mental hospital. The rest of Jim's team were repeat offenders, and they got sentenced accordingly. By the time I found out, we had already signed the deal with the investor. Our new journey has just begun.